Amen and blessed be. So I'm going to lead right into the sermon, and I'm going to make a point at the beginning, which you're welcome to park somewhere in your brain, in your heart, and if you hear nothing else, they say that people remember about 10% of what comes in a sermon, even just a day later. So let this be some fraction of the 10%. Trust depends upon a number of things, including these three: authenticity, rigorousness in our logic and living, and empathy. Authenticity, rigorousness, and empathy. Okay, now you still have to pay attention. As I considered the topic of this sermon, that everything happens at the speed of trust, I decided to consult an important source: children's TV and books. I listened to a Spanish language children's show segment about values, and as many of you know, I'm studying Spanish, so I picked out enough. It's simple enough language. I got the message. And I read a story in a book that brought tears to my eyes. And this children's book is called Samsara Dog. Anybody know that book? It's a children's book, Samsara Dog. By the way, you have a really lovely library downtown. It's a picture book for young children and goes page by page, illustration by illustration, through the reincarnation many times of Dog, a dog named Dog in this book. Dog, at the outset, Dog loved nobody. Dog trusted nobody. Dog lived for himself. So Dog starts out as the dog of a guy in a bad-acting motorcycle gang, and Dog is killed in an accident as the gang tries to race away from the hot pursuit of the police. Then Dog is reincarnated, and lifetime by lifetime, Dog is in different circumstances, and one by one, his relationships to his human become more intimate, more caring, more mutual, and demonstrate qualities in the end like loyalty, kindness, dependability, hope, love, authenticity, empathy, and rigor, which all add up to trust. His last reincarnation brought him to embody all of those qualities in his relationship to a boy who had an accident and lost his sight. Living into those many qualities of faith and trust, not necessarily the same things, mind you, concluded the need for Dog to be reincarnated yet again by the end of the book and his many lives. Samsara in Buddhist, Hindu, Jain, and other traditions refers to the cycle of death and rebirth in the physical world, a cycle to which life is inextricably tied until one attains nirvana or moksha or other terms you may have heard, meaning, in my understanding, the highest level of having evolved. It's a pretty good story, right? In the end, Dog loved and was loved. Dog trusted and was trusted. Dog lived in right and good relationship to others. That message in Samsara Dog, that evolution is necessary, and you can just feel how it is so very good for Dog and his human, and maybe for the rest of us too, how it is very much connected I believe, to our centering words in your order of service. And I'll read them to you. All successful life is adaptable, opportunistic, tenacious, interconnected, and fecund. Understand this, use it, shape God. Now, God is a word that some people are very comfortable with and some are not. And I invite you to think in terms of metaphor. If you have a discomfort with that terminology, think of the good. Understand this, use it, and shape the good. That is, we can succeed in and through life's challenges by recognizing that our relationship to all of these things depend upon, in some measure, our ability to be authentic, rigorous, and to show empathy. If we can see how that helps us, how our ability to adapt, to make the most of positive opportunity, if we can be focused, deliberate, and act in sync with our greater aims, and recognize how fertile our creative power together can be, we build something dependable, something that we can invest our trust and faith in, something to help us heal from our own personal places of brokenness, and from that place, and as a community, from that place, help the world around us to heal. And in my research, I stumbled on an anthill in a book, a scientific journal actually, that had an article about ants. I don't know, maybe you knew this, but I didn't. A colony of ants, when its home is flooded, will stand in layers, in rows, one on top of another, even as the water rises, to save as many ants as possible from drowning, to keep the community alive, if not all of its members. A colony of ants is analogous to a brain where there are lots of neurons, each of which can only do something very simple, but together the whole brain can think. Ants communicate by chemicals, continues Stanford professor Deborah Gordon. An individual ant is not very bright, she says, but ants in a colony operating as a collective do remarkable things. Keeping in mind that no one is in charge of a colony, and the so-called queen ant is not actually in charge, by the way, that there's no central plan. How do the ants adjust their rebirth if their territory expands or shrinks? No ant told them, okay guys, if the arena is 20 by 20, we're good. Somewhere there has to be some rule that individual ants use in deciding to change the shape of their paths so they cover the areas effectively. Gordon says that that rule is the rate in which they, the ants, bump into one another. Now, please don't go running out of here telling people my minister compared us to a dog and a colony of ants. Although maybe I kind of am. But just to talk analogously, the ants, if they're all about chemicals and no discernible other way of communicating, and if it is something about bumping against each other that gives them a clue about changing their paths and their shape of their space, is there something that we can learn about trust from ant life? Well, let's let that percolate a while. Because things take time. Understanding with mind and heart, that takes commitment and time. That's something that one of my great mentors, Dr. Kay Jorgensen, would say. Kay is the co-founder of the Faithful Fools Street Ministry in San Francisco. How many of you know of the Faithful Fools? All right, there you go. Well, they're online if you want to check them out. Anyway, she had no idea at the time, just with everything that she was and did, how she would affect so many people in the Tenderloin of San Francisco and beyond, and in the formation of many a minister, including myself. Things take time, she'd say. And living into our values builds trust like nothing else, and is an everyday thing that takes adaptability, a desire to let in new opportunities for deepening who we are, a tenaciousness reflective of commitment, a true understanding of our interconnectedness and how it is that together we can be and do what we cannot be or do alone. Any minister coming to serve you, myself included, should be made aware of places of concern, pain, and even broken trust. Every congregation has those places. Every congregation. I say this because, first and foremost, as your minister this year and as your interim minister in specific, I'm here to help you get ready for your future. Part of that is cleaning up any leftover unresolved issues that may be lingering, as much as that's possible. And second, besides more ballpoint pens of various brands and quality than any small church office should ever hope to find in its departed minister's desk, I was left with a stack of index cards upon which many of you wrote. You wrote something, a problem, small or big, that you felt was yet unaddressed or that you yourself weren't finished with. And I look forward to clarifying with you which of your issues linger and which have lost their power in your mind and heart, and even which ones newly have arrived. Now, sometimes our issues get swept under the rug or proclaimed gotten over prematurely. And it's certainly true, a certain kind of complaining or gossip can be deadly. So we don't want to go there. And sometimes too much is made of old wounds that have themselves actually healed, but that serve a secondary purpose for those that hang on to them. It's like when a person has suffered an illness or a loss of some kind, and they've healed from it pretty much, but they continue to speak and act as if the suffering, the illness, or the loss is still so very fresh in order to gain something. It's most often unconscious, but it could become a dominating feature, a way to get attention, a kind of backdoor way to connection. It's like some people connect with others through shared purpose, enthusiasm, trust, mutual respect, and caring, while others lead with complaint. How someone hurt their feelings, though it maybe was many years ago. And though they've not approached the person to try to effect healing, they use the complaint to gain sympathy and to join in some kind of relationship with others. Happens in every community. It's kind of like this too. If you ask me how I feel and I say that I'm in so much pain, my body aches and I'm so tired, but taking a closer look, it's not my whole body, but my hand specifically. And even a closer look would reveal that it's actually right here in the web between my thumb and index finger, and in fact the rest of my hand and my body is pain-free. But I cannot or will not focus on the fact that most of me feels fine. But I connect with you only with the generalization about my pain. Instead, I might think and say something to the effect of, when I'm asked how I'm doing or when I offer, yeah, I'm having some pain in my hand and I need to check it out with the doctor. But mostly I'm feeling fine, body and spirit. That's a different communication. In a community, we can behave the same way, remaining unclear about the reality of our pain as a community, or our concerns, or even our joys, because we don't really want to deal with them. We don't see a possibility of healing wounds or brokenness, or that we want to connect with others using our suffering as a point of connection, reinforcing in others and ourselves a facade of, I think, distrust. That kind of connection is a sign that, frankly, we don't trust ourselves, our worth, our value as human beings to others, that we have to, on some level, have pain or show our real pain and shove it under the rug in order to minimize the impact. Let me repeat that. It's actually shove our real pain under the rug in order to minimize the impact, in order to feel like maybe we could be loved, or to ignore that completely. We just can't understand disappointment or broken trust or our own part in them, and can't imagine how we're lovable and still this thing happened, or this person did whatever they did, and how can they both be true at the same time? How can I be lovable and still that happened? Well, church offers us a nearly unique opportunity, truly one we seldom, if ever, find in other communities. This is especially true, I believe, in our Unitarian Universalist church communities, though not exclusively in our UU congregations. The opportunity is this: to try out behaving in the better ways we know how to behave, or try on behavior, and speech is also a behavior, by the way, to try on speaking and acting in ways we hear and see other people that we admire speak and act, in order to find a better way for ourselves and our community to be authentic. Bring yourself here. We can practice being and doing with new ways and new skills together. We practice. And as it is our way, and as our principles attest, we can support each other's search for truth and meaning. Really support it from an authentic place. Open ourselves up to the possibility of positive growth and change in ourselves, in one another, in our community, deepening that essential trust even more. This and every congregation I know of is concerned always about growth, usually about growth in numbers. We need more members in the congregation, on our committee, et cetera, et cetera. But the greater growth is the kind that is a deepening of your commitment to your shared mission and vision, and, as it is often said, what you pay attention to, that's what grows. What you pay attention to, that is what grows. Growth in numbers will follow when newcomers and long-term members, too, can see the richness of spirit and interpersonal connection and trust and say to themselves and one another, hey, I want some of what they have. And know that it isn't anything about the material world at all. Now, the thing with dog is that dog evolved. Dog loved, trusted, dog lived to the fullest to the end of his very last life. And I wonder, as I would with any congregation in this early stage in our work together, what is your relationship to trust, to growth in this special way, and to change? Things take time. Changing your relationship to change itself will help grow who and what this congregation is as you gear up for the wonderful new minister you are longing to have join you next year. And I will say frankly that inasmuch as many of us, by the numbers, by our ages, can have a harder time with welcoming in newness, opening up to change, resolving old conflicts, healing old hurts are among the most important tasks any congregation and committed member can undertake. And that work, my friends, as Kay Jorgensen would surely say, takes time. So may it be, and amen.